My search for a new element started in December. Last summer I had 3 elements on the road, and now that I was down to 1, I was going through element withdrawal. The 5-speed manual I kept was super rusty and it made it really difficult to work on. I found this green element on Marketplace and decided to go check it out. The Carfax showed it was from Texas and it didn't have any rust to prove that. While I was looking at it, my friend was roaming the aisles and found this beauty. The dealership had just picked it up from Virginia Beach, and this one also had no rust. It was all-wheel drive, 2 years newer, and had 40,000 less miles than the green element. So I bought it and convoyed home with 2 2005 Honda Elements. The very first thing I noticed on the way home is I didn't have any speedometer lights, so I easily fixed that with the old 10-cent method. I then transferred over my K&N intake from the 5-speed to this new element. While I was doing that, I noticed the ground to the engine block was broken off, so I quickly fixed it. I didn't like the color of the coolant, and when I drained it, it was actually water, so I'm really glad I did. The next thing I replaced was the driver's side lower control arm. You can see the bushing was completely broken off. Probably the most dangerous part of this car was the driver's side front ball joint. It literally broke off as I was trying to remove it. So I put the Ryobi on the max setting and used the 36mm socket to remove the axle. Once I replaced the ball joint, I made sure to torque the axle nut to specification. The next thing to do was replace these terrible tie rod ends. I made sure to heat them up before removing, and boy were they bad. Luckily these didn't cause a really bad accident. There's a picture of the old and new tie rod ends, and both of them installed. After that I replaced all 4 stabilizer links. I had to use heat to get them off, but they were really worn out and causing a lot of noise. Here's the old and the new sway bar link and a new one installed. While I was at it, I replaced the upper control arms in the back so I would have an adjustable camber. All 4 brake rotors were warped and there was a severe vibration every time I would stop. So I replaced the pads and rotors with the kit from Amazon that was just over $200. Here's a shot of the new pads, rotor, upper control arm, and sway bar link in the back. The next step is to change the rear differential fluid. So I started by loosening the fill bolt first. Then I loosened the drain, and be careful when the fluid splashes out, it doesn't get all over the ground. Tighten up the bolts, pump new fluid in the fill port, and you know it's full when it starts dripping. The old fluid smelled so bad I doubt it was ever changed. The next thing I did was change the transmission fluid since I don't know the last time it was done. And let me tell you, I don't think it's ever been changed. It should be red, not dark brown. This is the magnetic drain bolt and all the contamination that it was holding on to. After I tightened up the drain bolt with a new crush washer, I took a look at the old fluid. There were some metal particles in it, but it wasn't terrible. And then I filled it up with brand new Honda ATF. It looks and smells like a delicious, fruity, sugary drink. Next on my list was the valve adjustment, since I had no clue when the last time it was done. And it actually wasn't that bad. Somebody must have adjusted these valves in the past. Did a quick cleaning on the valve cover and made sure to apply Honda Bond where required before putting the valve cover back on with new spark plugs. I was still getting a clunking noise on bumps, so I replaced the rear sway bar bushings and that solved it. As you can see here, the tailgate struts had seen better days, so I ordered a set on Amazon for the Volkswagen Beetle. It's the Strong Arm 4351. These raised the tailgate an additional 3 inches, and I know what you're thinking, is 3 inches a lot? Yes. The next thing I did was replace the cabin air filters, which I'm sure were still original from 2005. Once you drop the glove box down, there's actually 2 filters inside of there. So you want to make sure you change both of them. There you can see the other one hiding. Here's the old and the new cabin air filters. And to install them, it's the same process as you took them out. The next thing I did was rust-proof the whole underside with fluid film. It took me about 4 cans to do the whole underside, but I was very thorough and made sure to get in the doors and in the rockers and to take the rocker trim off and all the rubber plugs because I don't want this thing rusting. The radio in this thing was driving me absolutely crazy. It would turn on and off about 30 times within a 5-mile drive, and I couldn't control the volume. I went to the junkyard and picked up this radio for just a few dollars, and it works beautiful. I took a little break from spending a ton of money on this car, so I went and I washed it. I don't think this thing's been washed in at least 6 months, and judging by the inside, which you'll see in a few minutes, this car's probably never been washed. This owner had very bad hygiene, and I can tell she didn't take care of it. Here's what I mean. Take a look at the seat. How do you even get an armrest that dirty, and what is that brown stain on the seat? Anyways, I used my drill brush set and Bissell carpet cleaner with a variety of carpet cleaner, tough stuff, and hot steaming water. And it actually worked pretty good. You can see the dirt that came out of just the driver's seat. That's disgusting. Here's a quick before and after. I repeated the process on the back seats, which were just as dirty as the front. I still don't understand how people get their seats that dirty and just live with it. There was a gross mystery fluid stained all over the headliner. I don't know what it was. I really hope it wasn't blood. But using the Bissell spot cleaner, it got it perfectly clean, and the water that came out was gross. That mystery fluid was splattered all over the interior plastics and the floor, so I made sure to do a really good job cleaning it in case it was blood. While the seats were drying, I washed my Element seat covers after I took them out of the other car. And the driver's side seat cover actually came from New Jersey, and the passenger side came from Canada somewhere. So thank you so much to the Element members, Logan and Tara, for getting those for me. I really appreciate it, and the Element seat covers are definitely the best. This Element had the classic rocking chair action, but that's reserved for the living room in my opinion. So I tightened the bolts, and now it's solid as can be. The next minor things I changed were the rear wiper blade insert, and I adjusted the parking brake to make it a little bit tighter. Now, I've never bought brand new tires for any of my 5 Elements, but this actually happened to be the first time. I got these 4 Goodyear Wrangler Workhorse AT tires, brand new, retails about $800. I got them for $400, and definitely worth it. I got the larger 225/75 16 size, and what a huge difference driving compared to the old Kellys that it had. The day after I put the tires on, I took it in to get aligned, and I thought I did a pretty good job aligning it at home, but I guess not. Take a look at these numbers. The next major item to get replaced was the windshield, and I have glass coverage, so I had Safelite do it for free. The next thing I did was replace the old blown out speakers with brand new Kenwood speakers. I got them on Amazon, and they were very easy to change. I just had to get the adapter for the Honda wiring harness, but that wasn't too much money, maybe $10 more. But the sound quality on these new speakers is amazing. Next on my list was the headlight restoration. The lenses were foggy, as typical for a 17-year-old car. So I used the Cerakote headlight restoration that I use on all my cars, and it works wonderfully. The first step is an oxidation removal wipe, then you wet sand like I'm doing now, and then you have to let that dry. So while I was waiting, I went ahead and replaced the headlight bulbs. You can see the old halogen bulb versus the new 20,000 lumen LED headlight bulb. And now the left one's installed and the right's still halogen. And here is both LED headlights. They're much brighter than original. Once the headlights are dry, I use the ceramic coating wipe to wipe the headlights clean, and this should last a lifetime. The kit has a lifetime warranty and I haven't had any issues, so I'm super excited about that. I happened to find a junkyard that had an Element with a roof rack, so I grabbed that and I threw it on my car. So much better with a roof rack. My hood had some bad Bondo, so Out of the Box Auto hooked me up with a new silver hood. Well, it wasn't really new, but it's a lot better than the ugly hood that I had with the big rust bubble and Bondo showing through. Here's the new hood going on, and it took some lining up, but we eventually got it. And that rust bubble on the front, you'll see in a minute. You won't even notice that.
Walk in the park.
Good. We also did a blue bumper swap, but this one had some lettering on it, so I had to scrub that off. I used a combination of various degreasers, cleaners, drill brushes, steel brushes, brass brushes, but I finally got it off. Here's a quick comparison. The old bumper had a cut and a big dent. And finally, I reinstalled my metallic grille that I had to take off during the bumper swap. And after that, I put on the bug deflector, and I think it's good to go for a while. Now, of course, I had to test out all these new parts, so I went down to Tijuana, Mexico, and did some high-speed runs. By the way, this is downhill. It's pretty pathetic. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and we're going for the 1,000,000. Both 1,000,000 miles and 1,000,000 subscribers.